Welcome to Storytime with Pastor Steve. Today's story, the story of Zerubbabel. It is based on the book of Haggai, the first and second chapters, Zechariah chapter 4, Ezra chapters 1 and 3. It's written by Constance Head and illustrated by Art Kirchhoff. Copyright 1980. 2,500 years ago, and maybe a little more, a boy was born in Babylon beside the cherub shore. "What shall we call our little son?" his parents asked each other. "He needs a very special name," so spoke the baby's mother. "Give him a name that will recall this land where he was born, a name that will remind us of our exile so forlorn." The boy's grandfather spoke these words. The parents heeded well. "We'll call him Child of Babylon. That is Zerubbabel." The years flew by. Zerubbabel was a young man, strong and true. He loved the land of Babylon, the only home he knew. But he also loved the stories his grandfather often told of another country far away where he'd lived in days of old. "Once I was king," grandfather said, "in Judah, my native land, a lovely place with hills and streams far across the desert sand. But the mighty king of Babylon took my kingdom from me, and later he burned Jerusalem, our city so fair to see. He destroyed the temple of the Lord and carried God's people away. He moved us here to Babylon, and here we are to this day, a people without a country, no home to call our own." So spoke grandfather Coniah, the king without a throne. "Someday I'll go to Judah. I'll rebuild the house of the Lord." Zerubbabel dreamed and planned and schemed, but no one believed his word. "Don't wish for the impossible," grandfather would often sigh, "for we are now exiles in Babylon, and here we must live and die." Many long years passed by, but still Zerubbabel dreamed his dream. He hoped and prayed for many a day as he strolled by the Chabar stream. "O Lord, great God of Judah, please set my people free and set us back to Jerusalem." Again and again prayed he. God works in many marvelous ways for the people he calls his own. At last a new king called Cyrus came to Babylon's throne, and Cyrus issued a wonderful law. Now listen well to his word. The Jews may return to Jerusalem and rebuild the house of the Lord. There's money to spend from the treasury, so go and do your job well. And the man who shall lead this enterprise is your own Zerubbabel. The people joined in caravans to travel o'er the desert and streams. For many weeks they journeyed on till they reached the land of their dreams. But when they saw the promised land, they felt no joy or cheer. "Oh, what can we ever do?" they cried. "There's nothing but ruins here." "Where have you brought us, Zerubbabel? What do you intend to do?" "Working together with God to help us, we'll see this project through." They built a new Jerusalem. Thus did Zerubbabel say, "It will not be easy, but we won't give up, for the city's not built in a day." First they built the altar for God's house and gathered for prayer and praise. They laid the fountain, and ever so slowly the walls they began to raise. But the work was hard and the builders tried. They had many excuses too. We'll work on the temple later, they said. Now what could Zerubbabel do? I cannot build God's house alone. It's a job for many hands. Unless these people want to work, it's the end of all my plans. He looks a little disheartened, doesn't he? Zerubbabel, Judah's governor, prayed so long and hard. Then finally 2 prophets came with a message from the Lord. Zechariah and Haggai, these people were the prophets' names. They spoke to the people loud and clear. Hear what our God proclaims. Rise up and build my house, he says. Think of all I've done for you. Stop being so selfish and lazy and tired, and see what you can do. So the people heeded the prophets at last, and each day they toiled long and hard. They worked with a will, for they were sure they were doing the work of God. And every morning with the words of praise, Zerubbabel urged them on, while the prophets spoke of happy days that would come when the building was done. Working together to serve the Lord, they all did the best they could. So God's holy temple was finished at last, and Zerubbabel's dream had come true. It took all of God's people working together to repair Jerusalem, but more importantly, to repair the temple. God has called us to work together for His good, for His purpose, so that lots of people can hear about His love and His grace and the forgiveness that comes only through His Son, Jesus Christ, who suffered and died and rose again so that we could receive His gift of forgiveness and eternal life. May we be encouraged by Zerubbabel that even if we have to wait a while, God is with us and He hears and answers our prayers. May God bless you today.